You are now listening to the I Think I Love My Wife podcast. And this is your best friend's best friend, Chidozie Okafor, ready to take you on another journey. Are you with me? Because I'm ready. Let's get it. This episode is sponsored by Nello Effect, a coaching and consulting service that helps people turn mindfulness into action as they navigate the dating world as well as their relationships. Follow on Instagram at Nello.effect and find more information in the episode description. In this episode, we talk about doing things out of obligation in the beginning of a relationship, how logic and love don't always go together, improving sexual connection when it's not as great as you would like it to be, and how men aren't really great at sex, at least in the beginning. Hey, what's going on? This is Chidozie, and we're back for another episode with I Think I Love My Wife. I have the pleasure today to have a good friend of mine, Nkem. Say what's up.
What up, y'all? We're coming in from the suburbs of Dallas, Texas over here.
We deep in the suburbs, like deep. If you guys knew the drive that I had to make, but, I appreciate it because I haven't done an in-person interview in a minute, and so it was good to connect. My boy just moved to Dallas, so welcome.
Appreciate it, man. I'm happy to be here. One thing I'll say, it's hot. I don't know how y'all deal with this out here. It's hot out here, man.
It's hot in Atlanta, too, isn't
it is hot. You know what? It's dry heat over here, but it's not hot this early. Like, I know it's May, but it's 98 degrees outside, bro.
Welcome to Texas. Well, I brought you some, before we start, let's toast. I brought you something to sip
on. Toast, my
on.
brother.
I have this Sagamore Spirit. It's a rye. It's a tequila finish. Let's cheers to brotherhood growth and new chapters of life. You know, quote unquote post-pandemic. You moving to Dallas, fatherhood ×2. We'll get to it, but let's toast to that and let's keep moving forward.
Cheers.
I actually like Sagamore. I'm becoming a growing fan of it. If you ever can find the port finish, it's really nice. I have not been able to find it since the first time I had it. But enough about that. Let's get on you. And like we always do, let's get to some of the contextual questions that we have here, so the listeners can learn more about you and your relationship. How long have you known your wife?
So I met my wife back in 2015, so it's been 7 years now, actually.
And how long were you all talking or getting to know each other before you made the relationship official?
It was really soon, so only probably about 2 months, to be honest. And I just jumped on it from there. I was ready.
You just knew you was ready at that time.
I knew I was ready. It was one of those things to me. I just felt like I had seen it all, done it all, and it was just time to be an adult in life, you know?
You've definitely done a lot of things.
We'll get to that.
As a roommate, definitely done a lot of things. Okay, so you meet. We can talk about how you guys met in a little bit, but you meet, and within 2 months, you're like, this is my girlfriend.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to try to seek some of your counsel because I am a slow mover in this boat. And I know listeners going to be like, oh, see, it only takes 2 months to know. That's not always the case, but I'm happy that was the case for you. How long did you guys date between when you made it official and till when you proposed?
It was about 2 years.
2 months to 2 years. And then how long have you all been married?
A good question. We got married in 2018, right? So it's been...
You're going on 4. It was in November, right? Or
it was
in the
in
fall.
September
fall,
22nd. So, man, it's going on 4 years now. Time flies.
It does, especially when you have a pandemic in the middle of it.
Yeah. I mean, the pandemic just ate a bunch of that time.
It was like, everybody should get those years back.
Exactly.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a product manager.
And what does your wife do?
She's a lawyer.
Okay. I often like to understand people's the status of the parents, just to give context to what people may have seen growing up. So, what was your parents' marital status growing up?
So, my parents got divorced when I was 9, or separated when I was 9. They didn't get divorced until I was 16. So, grew up in a split household. And then my wife's parents, they were married, and my wife's dad actually passed when she was a freshman in college.
Okay. And so for the most part, she saw both parents together. You did not.
Correct.
Okay. We alluded to it before, but children. Oh, before we get there, from a sibling standpoint, what was that like for you and your wife?
Man, we have super similar stories, actually. So we're both the oldest, and we're the oldest of three. So I have a younger brother and a younger sister. She has a younger brother and a younger sister as well. So that kind of plays into the dynamics of our relationship, too.
Cool. And then children, what does that look like for you guys?
All right, so check it. I came in like, you know what? I probably just want to have 2 kids just to replace us, and that's it. You know, I want it to be, economic and just what makes sense for the earth and all of that. You don't want to overpopulate the earth or anything like that.
Too late for that.
I was thinking, I know exactly. I was thinking real practical, so I said 2. And then also, I think because we have the means, it'd be great to adopt as well. So that's what's going on in my head. And on her side, she was thinking like 2 to 3 as well, too. So we were pretty aligned on that.
And so how many y'all actually have?
So we got one right now. She's 14 months. Beautiful, beautiful baby. She was just crying before, but we got her down. She's sleeping now.
Listen, let me just say, it was daddy daycare. I was just watching. She was hollering when I came. She already took a bath. Mom is not here. It was just him by himself. I witnessed it, put her down. She made a mess of herself. He took care of it, and then she sleeps. So, ladies, it can happen if you find the right one.
Yep. I mean, I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit. I'm a dedicated and very involved dad. So I think we honestly split a lot of the responsibilities like down the middle. Yeah, I wake up with her. I go to sleep with her. I give her a bath. I take her to daycare. I play with her, all of that kind of good stuff. And surprise, surprise, we got another on the way. We got a boy on the way in about 3 months.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
When does the baby due?
First week of August, but you know how these things go. Probably come in July.
Got it. Cool. Let's just dive into it. I had some questions I was going to ask based off what you just said, but tell me what you love about your wife.
Man, my wife is one of the most caring people that you'll ever meet, right? She really just has a heart for the people. She wants to make sure that everybody's taken care of, and you can see that in her nature, whether it's hosting, whether it's supporting friends on the phone. She does a lot of community service for voters protection and all of that. She's very passionate about those sorts of issues. So if it's something that helps out humanity and helps out, either women or something that she feels strongly about, she's definitely going to be dedicated to that. So yeah, that's something that I noticed really, really early for her, that she just has a heart of the people. So that's one really big thing that I love about my wife. The other thing, she's organized, right? So I'm a little scatterbrained here and there. But the thing is, like, we complement each other in that way, where I'm a very firm decision maker and I like things a certain way and all of that. She, on her side, will then, for things that I don't feel like are in my head, important to me, she gets all of that done already. So I don't have to actually worry about certain things, right? She's going to have it organized herself. So she'll definitely take up in places where I'm weak.
That's what's up. What would you say makes her special?
I think she's definitely a leader in her friends groups. I would definitely say that, actually. I think that, whenever she's in town or whatever, she rallies people together to really either have a good time or towards whatever objective. So I think that's a really special thing. I think other than that, though, she is very talented in many different areas, just as far as whether it's academically, intelligence, whether it's athletically as well. She's just really good.
What sport she play?
She's a track star.
What was her 40 time? No,
I don't know what her 40 time was, but she was states at.
No, I'm just messing with you.
In track, actually. So she's really athletic as well too. The thing is, she's talented, but she's not as, what's the word? Either driven or determined or whatever. Like, I'm more self will than she does, but she naturally is very skilled at a lot of things.
Got it. We talked about it a little bit before, but part of the reason why this podcast is called what it is called is because I definitely think there are situations or experiences that a man has where he stops, I would say, fighting the feelings that he's been having about his person. And there's a saying that I think most men go through where he's finally affirming his thoughts. And he's like, you know what? I think I love this woman. What was that moment for you when you realized, you know what? I love this woman.
Yeah, so I remember this like clear as day, right? Because this was, it wasn't New Year's Eve, but it was one time that I had visited. So just to back up, me and my wife, we dated for long distance for 2 years. So I was flying between Chicago and Dallas, like back and forth, right? So I came in for a weekend and we were partying and all of that. And
is that after Mexico?
This was not in Mexico.
After Mexico.
This was after
in the
Mexico.
townhouse?
Yes, this was in the townhouse.
Okay, I think I might have been there.
This was in the... Oh, yo, actually, yeah. I think it was that same night.
I think it was that night. Yeah.
I was eating some, like, they were making food. I ate some food. I think I ate something bad or whatever. Later that night, I was, I don't know, stomach virus or food poisoning or whatever, throwing up, feeling just horrible. I was by the toilet, like, all night. And she actually took care of me that whole night. Now, prior to this, right, we were having kind of like relationship issues, and we can get into like what those relationship issues were. It has to deal a lot with love languages. But it was that night as she was like taking care of me that I realized, whoa, there's somebody actually looking out for me. And surprise, surprise, my biggest love language is acts of service. And when I saw that in person, that's when I knew, oh, this person loves me and I really love her, right? So that was what clicked to me that this is actually the person for me.
I mean, since we're here, let's talk about it. What are your love languages? What are her love languages?
Yeah, so, and we can definitely chat about how this actually relates into being in a long-distance relationship and all of that. So my love languages are acts of service and quality time, right? Her love languages are words of affirmation and physical touch. Now, before this, I had no idea what love languages were. I thought that mine would be physical touch. Why? Because I'm a guy. I like touching, you know what I'm saying? But I actually went through and took the test and found out that it was acts of service. I said, yo, this makes so much sense because it put everything in my past into perspective as far as how I dealt with women on my past relationships and when I felt valued versus when I didn't feel valued. It put everything in perspective. So when we took the test, it actually put our relationship at that point into perspective as well, too. And this comes down to like the problems that we were having. Like I said, we were long distance for 2 years, right? Think about the things that you can do long distance. Well, you talk on the phone, you can send each other gifts, you can FaceTime or whatever. But acts of service, gonna be really hard long distance.
Yep.
Quality time, gonna be hard long distance. Physical touch, it's going to be hard long distance. Words of affirmation, you could do that long distance, right? So for me on my end, right, quality time,
not getting nothing.
Acts of service, I felt like I wasn't being loved at all. And I didn't actually put that together until I took the love languages test. I just felt like, yo, I'm in a relationship and it's restricting what I can do as a man. I'm not out in the streets. I'm not,
I can't have nobody else touching me. No one else doing for me.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can do acts of service on me in person. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't get any of that, right? Because we're long distance. And then on top of that, I'm not feeling it from my significant other as well, too. And so there was like I just started to feel like, why am I even in a relationship, right? Because I have all these rules placed on me. I felt like I was getting nagged a lot for this and that and all of that. So as a man, we do our assessments, the plus and minus opportunity cost and everything. I'm a pretty logical guy. A lot of my calculations came to, why am I even doing this right now?
I'm seeing more cons than pros.
Exactly. Honestly, there was many times that I was like, I'm seeing way more cons than pros. What is going on right now? So the only thing that kept me in the relationship during that period, and what's crazy about that period is that my wife, she felt all of it, right? Because she always brings it up. She still brings it up to this day that there was a time period that I didn't like her. And she's like, you didn't like me. She always brings that up. And
That's
I
funny.
wouldn't say that I didn't like her, but
wasn't
I
feeling
wasn't
her.
the biggest fan, at that time period. But what actually brought me through that time period, this is crazy to say this, but I just felt like it was the grace of God, because I told myself, I always sabotage my relationships, right? I'm always doing something to kind of get out of it. You need to man up and be an adult and stick this out, because this is what I told myself, this is what you're supposed to be doing when you're an adult. You get in a relationship and you stick in the relationship. So go ahead and do that.
You stuck it out more out of obligation.
Yeah, no, I'm being 100%
No, I
honest.
mean,
I did
I don't think
do it
anything's
out
wrong
of
with that.
obligation. It's going to be hard for your listeners to actually hear that, because I actually wouldn't recommend that.
You recommend doing stuff out of obligations? Or doing
Yeah,
long
because
distance?
that just sounds dumb, right? Why would you put yourself through stress? I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's what I did.
Well, I mean, but you ended up where you wanted to, though.
Yeah, but I mean, it's an opportunity cost thing. What's the percentage? Or it's a probability, right? That comes out. It's an expected value. That's the word I was looking for. Like, what's the expected value of that actually working out?
It's funny. It's funny you said that, because I am also a very logical person. I'm a person that things need to make sense before I allow myself to feel.
Yep.
And so, in conversations that I was having it, I think last year with someone, and we talked about how, in this world, there's probably a subset of people that, if you met, you just, they got all the things you're looking for,
Yep.
And there's some that, like, off the top, you just know it's not going to work.
Yep.
But the majority of people are in the middle. And so as a result of that, we're looking at things on the margins to determine if this is going to work or not. Things that really don't matter if this person was, like, in that first group of, you feeling them tough. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so, if you're trying to be logical about everything, right, and you're taking things from, like, a, very much a kind of a practical way, if those are kind of the, I would say, percentages and ratios that we're looking at, then the majority of the people that you come across either don't work, or you're looking for reasons to sell yourself on it, right? Mm-hmm. And so as a result of that, you can't really operate off of, like, logic, because the odds are it's not going to work. Like any of the odds. The next person you meet, the odds are it's like starting a business. The odds are it's not going to work, but it's not that you don't put in full effort for a startup, even though the odds of success are low, right? It's like a terrible, like, think about it. As an entrepreneur, you can say, well, it's not logical to be an entrepreneur and think you're going to be successful, because what are you did it. What are the odds? They're very low for people to let's not even say IPO, just like to make money that you could survive off of. They're not high percentages. And so I say that to say, like, I'm a very logical person, but then when I think about people that I've done some probably not as logical stuff, it just made sense to me, and I felt that, so I wasn't worried about those margins or some other things. And I think in love is one of those things that are not as logical when everything is in place for you, or you can't argue someone doing something because they, like, really want to, or they really care, right? I always tell people, I can't argue with your feelings. I'm never, that's a losing battle. And if you just want to do it, if you just say, hey, I really like this, right? Just say that. Sometimes I think we're afraid to say, I don't have a better reason other than the fact that I really like that. And so when someone's trying to defend their case, I'm like, well, this don't make sense. This don't make sense. If you really like something and you think it's worth, let's say you want to buy something, you think it's worth X number of dollars, cool. I can't argue with that. And I think when we see people that we really like, or that like evolves to a degree, like, all those other things that may be logical don't matter anymore.
That's an interesting way to think about it. I actually personally have never thought about it that way. Basically, what you're saying is that logic can knock candidates out of the running. Well, basically every candidate out of the running, if you're going into with that sort of mind state, because it has such a low percentage of
and if that person doesn't already meet whatever, if you don't just naturally gravitate to that person and like them, or see a lot of, I'll give you an example. When I moved to Austin, I was looking for apartments. Mm-hmm. I had criteria, and I think this is how people work.
I know how you are.
Yeah, so, I had criteria that I wanted, right? Some of that was just my personal preference.
Yep.
Some of that was knowing what I, like, call it my baggage, right? Because I think this is a great example for people. I knew what I was bringing. I was coming from a 2-bedroom apartment, so I knew what needed to fit. There were some apartments I went into and I was like, no, this is not going to work. There were other ones that I saw that it was okay. It was cool. I could figure it out, and it's like business school. When you get that second or third internship job, you're like, I'll make it work. I'll go recruit for them, but it wasn't the one I really, really wanted. But when you see but then the one I went to, that I ended up going with, when I saw the building and when I saw the space, it wasn't that it was so much bigger than other spaces, but I could envision how all my stuff would fit. So at the end of it, it was like, how does this work financially for me? But all the little things that I was trying to, and the ones that were okay, like, does it have this? Does it have that? Does it have this? I was trying to make those ones work versus the opposite of like, hey, I really hope that like I can afford it. And I think that's how we are with people. Like there's certain people that we gravitate to and we're like, yo, I can put up with this and this and that because there's a whole bunch that I already like about that person. But some people that are just okay, you have to almost, in an obligatory way, like see it through because you could develop that over time. And if you don't allow it yourself to develop that attraction or fondness, then every little thing is like a ding. Because you're not like, I can take this and that with it. You're like, nah, this is a reason not to go for it. Mm-hmm. So you look at it more as a con than I could do it despite of.
Well, let me ask you this then. Do you believe that you can build somebody up and mold somebody and all of that? Like, is that something that you ascribe to?
I don't know that I subscribe to that, but I think it depends on where you are at life, especially when you're young.
Yep.
I think you're kind of naturally growing with people. I think it also depends on what you want or need in a partner. Because I think there is a degree, and I think it depends on where that development is required versus how important that area is for you, right? And so I don't know if it's a cut and dry like yes or no, but I definitely think it just depends on where that person has room to grow and may not be where you need them to be. For some people, it might be attraction, right? Like the attraction may not be where they want it to be. For men, I think that's hard to grow that. Because there has to be an openness for that guy to then have all the action and stuff carry through. For women, I think they're a little bit better that if you can crack the barrier, they can allow space for those actions to carry them through. And so I definitely think it just depends on where you feel like you guys are not necessarily connecting or where they're not doing it for you and how important that thing is for you to allow space for it to grow.
I think that's fair. Part of me just disagrees a little bit with you.
It's okay.
Though, and this is just because I feel like, sorry, ladies, as men, when we out here, man, the odds are just in your favor, dude.
Are they?
So, yes, they are, man. They out here.
You're saying that as a guy that's above 6 feet tall. and got a full head of hair, maybe.
No, man, no. Chill out. Let me explain this, right? Even with the height, hair, whatever.
They start trading height in for honesty when they get older, not.
They do. And we could definitely talk about that too, right? My thing is like, as far as men, right? Everybody knows like where they fall in a certain range.
I think guys know where they fall in a pack of men.
Guys definitely know where they fall, right? But how do you boost your status up? Well, if you're short, make more money. If you're short, work out.
You can't be short and fat. Is that what you're saying?
You can be.
You might not be pulling.
But your range, you're limiting your range
of what you can pull.
Exactly,
oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, you got to add other accessories to your tool belt.
Just because the guy is short and fat doesn't mean he doesn't want a 9 too.
No, but bro,
you can't get that.
You can't be shooting for a 9 though. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm not disagreeing. No, I would never tell someone not to shoot. You may have a low percentage conversion, but I would never tell someone not to shoot at what they want. Never. But I understand what you're saying. But you adjust accordingly.
So as a man, right, this is what I'm saying, that I feel like you shouldn't, as a man, because the odds are in our favor, we don't have to be molding anybody or anything like that or building anybody up. I need you to come out the box ready.
No batteries required. Just pull a little ticket and it just works.
Because the odds are in our favor, man.
I used to subscribe to that. I don't anymore.
Uh-huh.
I think if you're how do I want to describe this?
Choose your words wisely, bro.
I feel like if you're a guy that, there's levels to men.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're one of those guys that don't have a lot of preferences and you kind of take what comes your way, and I think there's a lot of people that are like that. They take what life gives them. They don't necessarily work to forge what they want in life. So it's not just a man thing, right? But if that's your attitude, yeah, maybe the odds are in your favor from pure ratios, right? But I think if you're a guy that has strong preferences, knows what you want in life, and is willing to work for it and all those kind of things, and you may be a bit particular, you'll realize that just because the number of pure women are like 5 and 10 times guys, what you actually want, just because for every 10 women there's one guy, in that group of 10, you may only like or be interested in one or two. So then the odds of what you would really invest in are not in your favor. Because it's not that you meet one that you're interested in and then that doesn't work and the next one you meet is what you want. And so we can't look at it from the total pool. You got to look at the pool that you would shoot at. This is not a total addressable market type of thing. This is this is who has the willingness to pay in the market.
But to counter that with, you being so selective with that partner, aren't you saying a little bit that this person is kind of ready-made? Like they've got
I'm not disagreeing with
80.
I'm not disagreeing with the ready-made piece if you want to use that example. But if you're looking for ready-made, I'm just saying, and it's women are 10-1 to men. It might be 2-1 that are ready-made the way you want them to be. So then the odds are not as much in your favor. Mm-hmm. Or it might be,
So you might have to work and tweak a little bit.
I'm just saying that you got to show up too.
That's
you got to show up too, because women are saying, you got tons of women out here. I don't know why you're single. It's like, well, I don't want every woman I come across.
That's fair. For the ladies who are listening in right now, as you may be able to tell, I'm a guy's guy. I'm always going to vouch for the fellas out here. So, yeah.
He's already married, so you don't have to worry about meeting him in the streets. Someone's got him off your hands. So we're talking about love languages and how that impacted your relationship. It's interesting because we lived together. I know what kind of life we was living in grad school. And so for me, if that was me in this situation, right? You guys met. I was there when you guys met. I feel like I need more people to meet I feel like I've been meeting people that are getting married. I'm like the Lucky Charm. I need somebody to be my Lucky Charm. There's a few of us. Y'all met. We was all together when we met.
You're like, what is it? What's that movie? 16 Dresses or
40, 21 Dresses or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's like people keep meeting and getting married when I'm around. But so y'all meet, and within 2 months you're like. And you were still fairly new to Chicago. So It wasn't like you...
I was in the streets, bro.
Yeah, but I'm saying you were still new. Like, you still had new car smell when it came to the community and the city and being there. So you're new to a city, relatively. Single, freshly minted MBA, making MBA money. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to go... 2 months, I knew enough to say that this is going to be the person that I'm going to pause all those other things for. What about it made you... Because I don't think that, that would have been normally what you would do.
See, my roommate, he knows me too well, man, because he knows I get it in. Nah, but
got it in.
I got it in. I got it in. That's true. As we talked about earlier today, I got it in today by putting my baby down and making sure that she can go to sleep. But, I mean... So the question is, what actually made me settle down and really?
Just like within that frame, like what happened in the month 1 and month 2 to be like, hey.
I mean, so honestly, you guys know the life that we lived in business school, right?
They don't. I don't know that everybody went to business school.
I was getting it in. I won't say it was wild, but I had a lot of fun in grad school, right?
And these when the apps were just fresh out, so we was really guinea pigs.
Back in 2013 to 2015.
This is when the apps. I think we only had Tinder really.
Bumble
might have been still hard.
Bumble was like 2015.
Bumble might have been hard to get into, but Tinder was just launching.
Yeah, it wasn't. I hear today that it was like that. It has all these bots on it and scammers and everything. No, this is when everybody was on there, right? So me, growing up. I'm black. I hang out with black people. I hang out with black men. teach each other how to run game and talk to women and everything like that.
I didn't learn those things.
So where we can holler at women in person, but then you're talking about hollering at women in person plus the apps on top of that. I was getting it in.
So you was eating.
I was eating. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, really, at the end of the day, what actually happened was that I got tired, dude. I was like, no
2 years of running through the streets. Like, I can't keep this up. With a real job.
When I started in Chicago, this is when I met her. I had only been in Chicago for like 2 or 3 months, something like that, right? There was one day I had 4 dates on a Saturday.
He was aggressive.
I'm not even lying. 4 dates in a Saturday, right?
Did you not think any of them were going to go well?
I was, man, I'm putting up shots, baby.
Yeah, you was volume shooting. you was volume shooting. You was like that. What is that little game at Chuck E. Cheese where you just throw them up?
I'm popping shot at them.
It's like a bucket list, man. You have more days.
I was going.
You must have knew your days with numbers.
Yeah, I was going in. Like if you
4 days and went.
Yeah, if you took a look at my phone, it got so crazy that I put a girl's name and I put Chicago on it. So then all I had to do on context is search for Chicago
to see what the team looks like
of like all of them or whatever, right? So to be honest, if you think about that, you spending hella money, you spending a lot of your time, you're just wasting a lot of your resources, right? And I got tired, dude. So, when we went to the convention and I met her at the convention and she told me, yo, I'm a lawyer. First of all, my wife is fine. That's one. That's what actually attracted me to her in the first place, obviously. But number 2, she told me that she's a lawyer, and then we started chopping it up, and she was real cool or whatever. She was trying to play slick, hard to get. I was like, man, I'm trying to get on the stay-at-home dad move or whatever. So
house husband life.
So honestly, it was when I started to get to know her more and more, I really knew that, hey, I need to actually take this seriously because this is a serious woman over here. So this is coming from a man who was not serious at all. I
didn't want to say those words, but I'm glad you did.
Ladies, if you present yourself in a certain way, you'll make the man submit if you're shooting in your range. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Kevin Samuels, R.I.P. If you're shooting in your range.
All right, so here's my thing with Kevin Samuels, right? He has the most basic advice. I'm not a fan of him at all because I was like, duh, like who doesn't know that, right? But
there are people that didn't, but he's a shock jock. He was saying
stuff.
Exactly. It was for clickbait. He didn't have to frame.
Right, it's
nearly.
Clickbait.
I don't like to give him a lot of airtime, but R.I.P. He didn't like to. He could have framed things very differently,
much different,
but he did it for clickbait.
Yeah.
But after a while, I didn't feel sorry for those people because they knew what they were signing up for when they called in.
Why you call it in?
So that's why. And he was equal opportunity. Just guys just didn't call in because they knew he would come for you.
They were just roasted.
And I don't think it was ever a situation where you saw a high value quote unquote man call in and be
Never.
What's going on?
Right, because what are quote unquote high value men doing? Increasing their value, not calling into a podcast or whatever.
Wondering what's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Asking what's wrong. So, I mean, it was a self-selection thing there. So, to be honest, right, this is, at the end of the day, my thing is like, shoot in your range, If you meet somebody in your range, you can assert whatever leverage you want, kind of, sort of there. It's economics at the end of the day, man.
That is one way to think about it. I get,
sorry,
but you're saying no. You don't. This is your philosophy. You worked for Jew, so it worked for you. So I will say that I get what you're saying because I know you're thinking from an efficiency standpoint.
Exactly.
And if someone wants a 9, they will keep shooting that until they get one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think my tweak to that is shoot where you want to shoot. Just know that the percentages are going to be according to where you actually fall in line.
That's fair.
The most unathletic person can make a half-court shot every now and then. Mm-hmm. So it's not that you can't make it if you're willing to shoot enough times to get there. I think probably what's more important is to shoot in the environment that works for you. I used to tell people, I'm not a 3-point. I'm like Sean Livingston. that play for Golden State. I am a 2-point jumper, pull up kind of guy. I'm not a 3-point shooter. My name is Chidozie. If we're at the club, it's loud. I've already killed the intro vibe, trying to get my name right. I do good at kickbacks.
Go where you're celebrating.
I know where my high percentage shots come from. Regardless of who the target is, I know where my high percentage shots are.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna jack up a whole bunch of threes all the time and shoot in the club because that just don't work for my style of play. Mm-hmm. And so you also need to know what your style of play is and where you're most effective. So if you're gonna shoot at a 9 or out of your range, you have a higher probability that way.
Mm-hmm. Man, this man is putting y'all on game right here. Let me just tell y'all that right now. I know this is about marriage and everything like that, but for those of you who
it's about all of it. It's people to listen to that's not married and trying to get gems so they can be married.
That's
so
fair.
It's for everybody.
Just be confident in what you're special at, like what your focus is. That's my biggest thing. Stay in your range. Know where you're good. Like you were saying, Sean Livingston or whatever. If I'm DeMar DeRozan or whatever, you put me on the block on the free throw line, I'm going to hit that shot every time because I'm an awesome, mid-range shooter, So,
yeah, no, exactly. So, before we jump off and get back to the married life, you was talking about your single life and how you was in these streets. Especially, you were living in Iowa too. I couldn't imagine.
Talk about that, man.
I couldn't imagine what that was like.
Skiing the slopes, bro. Skiing the slopes.
But one of the things that I try to do more of, and I will continue to, is talk about sex. I think as a culture we run from that conversation, and I think it's important to talk about because I think that there's a lot of ranges of experiences, but on TV it's romanticized and it looks a certain way. And when people are undergoing the ranges of experience, we think they can feel very isolated in that opinion. And I also say that for guys, most guys thinking they are doing work, but we know reality is a lot of women are left unsatisfied. Mm-hmm. And so I think as men, it's important to talk about the evolution of what we've learned when it comes to sex and also how we've navigated that. Because if a guy is, 35 plus and is talking about he's been killing it the way he was when he was 20, you haven't learned nothing. You haven't learned anything at all. And so I think that it's important to talk about that. And so I set that table because I've been in experiences where, and where I want to go with that conversation is that I think we've both been in situations where we've had people that we probably didn't have a really strong emotional connection with, but physically we could get it in and it was cool. And then we've probably been in the course of our experiences with people that we probably had a more emotional connection with, and it may not have been as seamless and as, taking more work to get to a place where it was, where we wanted it to be. And so I've been in that position before, and it was tough trying to navigate that because it was someone that I cared about significantly, but we just didn't have, it really required more work for us to connect at the level that we wanted to. And so much on TV, social media, that we see that it's supposed to be an instant connection. So when it's not, we're like, what's wrong with us? Or this ain't supposed to work. When in my conversations with people, that happens more times than not, that it wasn't like a instant compatibility in that space. And it took actual intentional work to get to that space. So I just want to know, have you experienced something like that or anything like that where whether it was like you was getting head that was terrible or you were with someone that you really care for and it just wasn't working. It took some work to get to where you wanted to be. How has your sexual, I would say, experience and evolution has been, as a young bull to now?
Oh, man. So first of all, hopefully none of my family is listening to this. Secondly,
well, too late for that. You already told him you was in these streets.
Secondly, God, please forgive me because definitely haven't been on my best behavior. But to be 100% honest, I think that sex is a journey, man. The thing as young men, we are not taught anything about making sure that your partner is actually pleased, about making sure that everybody is comfortable and that, you're creating an enjoyable environment and experience and all of that. So when you first jump in or whatever, let's be 100% honest. The majority of men in westernized culture, what is your first experience with sex? You're watching a porn or from, one of your friends. We're old, so
tape.
That's what I was about to say. It's a tape that one of your homeboys
somebody brought
or something. 100%, right? So that's what you're thinking. Oh, this is what sex is and everything like that. So when you first start or whatever, all you're like is, yo, I just scored and I'm just trying to beat it up. And
so we're tired. Right? You listen to music. Exactly. You watch a flick. That's what you see.
Netflix and chill. Even though back then it wasn't Netflix and chill, we were Redbox. I think
before that was VCR, bro.
It was probably before that.
He was recording movies.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, just first starting, it was a lot about the satisfaction that you got as a man, and not 100% making sure that the woman was satisfied. A lot of those early type experiences, because to be honest, you didn't know what you were really doing, right? At all.
Were you scared when you first did it?
100%. I was like, what is going on right now? It was in a black Toyota Camry.
Oh, you did it in a car.
yeah, man.
That's funny. It was funny because, Nigerian parents, and we can spend time talking about that, but my mom was very much like, hey, if you have a kid, we're kicking you out. And I firmly believed that they would kick me out and keep the kid. Mm-hmm. And so I just it wasn't something that I wanted to test.
Yeah.
And I just knew about STDs, but I didn't know about them.
Right.
So I just thought like it was, you hear about it in school, like in your high school, people getting burned. So you just like, yo, this could, you don't know how things work. So you just imagine how it might work. So I was like, you know what? I ain't trying to get caught up in any of these things. And so I was really trying to avoid having sex because I just didn't know what I was doing. And my excuse would be, oh, I don't have a condom. Mm-hmm. So that if it got too far, I'd be like, oh, I don't have a condom, we can't do it. Yep. And I still could keep my like manly, like I wanted to, but I couldn't. And I remember the first time I had sex, I tried to use that excuse, and the girl was like, oh, I'll get one.
She said, oh,
so she went,
take this.
So she went and got one. So then I was like, well, in my head, I guess I got to perform.
I got no more excuses.
And so that was the first time I had sex, and I don't know that I knew how things worked, but I don't know that I knew that what I was doing. And my goal was like, last as long as you can. And that was it.
100%, right? I ain't trying to be no 1 minute man out here, And
so, so to your point, it is an evolutionary process for guys. Mm-hmm. I don't think a lot of us are willing to admit that.
Nope.
At least, when you are that age, even now, from my female friends that talk about it, I always say, the more humble a guy is, the better lover he can be in terms of realizing he don't know what he's doing and being willing and open and taking cues from a woman, just because every woman is very different and what they like is very different. Mm-hmm. And so the more you can act like, the less you know and more take cues from either what she tells you or responding to what her body's doing, I think the better chance you have to pleasing her. It's been my philosophy.
100%. The key that you just said is that every single person is different, right? Everybody has what excites them and all of that and how they want to
especially
be
women. I think guys probably fall into a more narrow pool.
Guys,
our variance is very low compared to
super low, right? So not to be too vulgar, but I saw a tweet the other day that made me die laughing. Somebody was like, "Oh, girls shouldn't be, basically just exclaiming or whatever that they." They got, that good pee and everything. That they got that wop. Guys nut in socks, So
it is not required.
That is not a requirement.
That's not a requirement. It's cool and all. It helps, but it was gonna happen.
Exactly, it was gonna happen regardless.
That is like everybody gets a participation medal.
So yes, guys' variance is way lower. Now on the women's side of it, yes, every single woman is different, right? So as I got older, I started to realize that fact. It wasn't until after college that, you get into more in-depth relationships and you start talking about these things, right? Because it's not like in college, for example, you're having maybe a few interactions here and there. Maybe it wasn't a long-term girlfriend or whatever, and you're just messing around. But afterwards, you get into more long-term relationships and things, you start to try to experiment with things and you start to have actual conversations about it instead of, this is all that we do and I don't have this emotional
friends with benefits type.
Exactly.
Listen, I learned, I was talking to a younger one and I learned that the new term is sneaky link. I didn't know that.
I seen that on Twitter.
I was like, what is a sneaky link? And then I started seeing everywhere on Instagram as there was a song about it. But yeah, that's the new term. We used to call it friends with benefits.
Yeah. FWB. I'm still going to keep it friends with benefits.
Yeah, but sneaky link if you want to be.
Yeah, synonymous.
You want to be current.
If you want to be more new and hip and all that.
So I'm glad you said that. And my next question is, in your experiences, how often do you talk, whether it is this has serious potential or someone you're just having consistent sex, whether the potential is there or not, how often do you talk about sex and what you like and that person likes, with the partner? So
honestly, like in later relationships, as I was more mature, like those first few times, it was more of a vibe thing and, just interacting with how they responded to certain things. And then after maybe like the first handful of times, you would start getting feedback because we're older, we're more comfortable with each other, so we can be more honest and say, hey, I think that you should do this versus this over here, right? So as this was in my, like, I'll call it 28,
later,
28, yeah.
Late 20s.
Yeah, so you're actually making those sorts of adjustments actually from listening and just chatting about it. To be honest, casually, like after you were actually done, like you would do a play-by-play recap or whatever,
bruh,
and then you can adjust.
Listen, I like doing a full debrief.
Yeah, I love the debrief
because you may forget. You don't want to kill the cuddle vibe, but if you're not cuddling, y'all just catching your breath.
I love the debrief,
I just like,
man.
And I don't know that I've done it before, and I think you caught the woman off guard. Actually, what are we talking about?
Right.
But I'm just like, hey, what did you like?
Yeah.
What didn't you like? Because
you're trying to get better.
I don't want to do the same thing. I'm thinking this is my spot. And like you said, guys have a small variance. So I could have a position that I like that I would rank number one. Mm-hmm. What you may like maybe number 3 or 4 on my list.
Right.
But the variance between how much I like that one and number 4 is not that much. I can quickly make number 4 the top one if I knew that's what you really liked, right?
Exactly.
You're going through the order of what you think.
Exactly.
And so I like to say, what did you like? What didn't you like? Because if I'm doing what I think works for me and knowing there's not a big disparity between them, and you hated that,
right?
Like, let me know. So I change it. I have no problem changing it up.
100%. Now, what's interesting about that back and forth is that honestly, and I think that this is both a combination of me being more in tune with the women, but I think also it's a combination of just women getting better. As I got older, women got a lot better at sex than when I was younger because I remember those earlier experiences, which were like, it's hit and miss.
They were just taking it.
Yeah, that kind of.
They didn't know what they was doing either, probably.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't know what they was doing
to satisfy their specific needs.
But when I got to like 28 and up, I was like, whoa. Whoa, yeah, I can see what's going on now. Like, there's a lot of stuff that kind of blew my mind a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, there was a lot there. Honestly, I think a lot of it is attributable to communication. A lot of it is attributable to experience. There's been times when after we do the recap and I've been told, hey, I think that, you should do this when this happens. And there's been times in the middle, right, where you just get feedback. Yeah. Hey, don't do that. Or keep on doing this. Yes, keep on doing that. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to keep on pushing.
Has someone ever hurt your feelings with what they said?
You know what? I did get one piece of feedback. And this was kind of funny, where one young lady told me that that it wasn't, that the sex wasn't actually good or whatever. But after she told me, it was out of spite that she told me that. So I was like, I knew you was lying. I knew you was lying, girl. So that hurt. She actually legit did hurt my feelings
because she told you it wasn't good.
Yeah,
and you probably thought you was killing it.
I thought, because I thought it was good on my part. I was like, I thought it was good.
So let's use that example. Was it a function of? I'm sure it bruised the ego initially, but was it? I mean, after you heard that, like, did y'all not do it again?
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah, so it wasn't like terrible.
Yeah.
But I bring that I want to stay on that situation because I do think that there are circumstances where the woman may not be enjoying it a lot. And so how do you, and I think sometimes women will not communicate that because they're trying to spare the guy's feelings. Yep. And so I don't think it's like breaking up with someone. I don't think there's a great way to break up with someone.
Yep.
You're not going to avoid the feelings being hurt.
Yep.
If that person wasn't a mutual decision, there's going to be feelings hurt. So you can't just stay with someone because you don't want to hurt their feelings. And I think, with sex, you can't just not communicate and continue to have a poor sexual experience because you're trying to spare a person's feelings. Right. And so, I say that to say, how bad? Like, did it hurt your feelings? Like you was, was it more of a bruised ego type of thing, or was it more of a, you was really like, damn?
I think it was more of the latter, to be honest. Like 100% honest, I was actually hurt because I thought that we were having a good time. But I mean, nowadays, right? What I'll do, I definitely ask for feedback now.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not an ego thing. It's like I want us both to have a good time, and I think that
just clarify. When you say nowadays, before you was married, not nowadays.
This is before I was married.
Just so people you said nowadays.
Yeah, before I was there. I mean, I ask for feedback now too.
Yeah, you should. I think that's important to clarify. You should, if you're doing your marriage, like you said,
obviously
it's evolutionary. Like, and people, what they like change over time. Your wife 100%. Has had kids, and I'm sure what she may like now may change from what she liked before.
100%.
A kid.
Now, I mean, actually, you're stepping on a really good topic there. Now, like, for example, the thing is that life changes. Everybody here has to know that your life is going to change as you move through different stages, right? So we went from being a couple to being engaged to being married to being pregnant to having a kid, right? And to be 100% honest, I haven't had sex in a few months. My wife is pregnant, we haven't really done much, during this whole time. And she's had some thoughts where she feels bad for me, and she feels like she's not holding up her end of the marriage. But the thing is that we need to have these conversations. And we had this conversation where it's fine. You're pregnant. It's fine. You got to listen to your body, whatever your mood is, all of that. I'm going to be good. Like, you are the mother of my children. I understand that this is like a instrumental period in life and all of that. So we got a whole lifetime, so we got a whole
lifetime for most sex.
Yeah, I'm going to be patient, right? So I think it's important to have these conversations, to be honest, No,
I think it's, I want to take it on multiple dimensions from like a dating standpoint, also in a marriage and with kids, because I think, one, if anything, I want listeners to hear, especially the women listeners, is that the communication is important. More so on their end, because I think guys want to please a woman. We don't necessarily always have the awareness to think to ask. And so, although there may be some bruised egos in learning that they weren't as good as they thought, I think if I were to ask you, some of that, feeling of sadness or disappointment probably came out the first time you heard it. Versus, like, if you've been getting similar feedback, you would have been like, okay.
Oh man, yeah.
I'm working on it. So when you've been doing something for a long time, and then someone tells you you're not good, it's like, oh, had I heard this before, I might have worked on. It's like your boss giving you feedback about an email
Right.
template. It's like, yo, if you told me this a long time ago, I would have fixed it.
But women don't like to give feedback, right? Because they're trying to spare the guy's ego.
And that's what I'm trying to convey is like, if anything, a takeaway from this is like, the more you communicate, one, it helps the guy be aware.
Right.
But two, if not helping you in that environment, helps the next woman
Exactly.
in the environment.
Make that man better. Build him up for the next woman.
But I mean, it's true because she's doing the same for you, and she's doing it too.
Right.
But two, I
upgrade him.
But the other end of it is, and within marriage, I do recognize that from a sexual dynamic standpoint, to what you alluded to earlier, it changes with women being pregnant, and then also there's a different level of busyness that you have once you have a child that both parties, husband and wife, are navigating, right? In addition to the job and all these things, she's recovering.
I'm about to jump in on that.
And so before you jump in, the reason why I want to call it out, because I've noticed that in a lot of relationships, it's been a big shock to the man, the husband. One, they may be, understanding because she's pregnant, there's a baby in her, but then after the baby comes, it's like, yo, there was an expectation, we're going to get it cracking again. And there's a recovery process for the woman, as well as there's a transition process for both of y'all figuring out how do we keep this thing alive. That creates a whole new level of tiredness.
Right. So for the guys out there who don't have kids, I want to say it's like 6 weeks medically that you're not even supposed to have sex after the baby's here. So for that first 6 weeks, take that out of your mind. But the thing is, if we're being 100% honest, it's not going to be in your mind in that first 6 weeks. Why? Because that first 6 weeks is crazy. To be 100% honest, the first 3-4 months is like a blur. So for us personally, and this is going to be interesting, we actually didn't sleep in the same bed for the first 3 months. And when I say sleep in the same bed, we were not in the same bed sleeping at the same time for the first 3 months. Why? Because we were doing shifts with the baby. And if the baby is up and you're taking care of them and they might be crying and you got to feed them and all of that, you want your partner to actually go to sleep so they can be up and have a pleasant time during their shift when they're awake or whatever, right? So to actually keep our sanity, I would be with the baby in another room. She would be with the baby with another room, and the other person would be sleeping. So I took my shift at 4 a.m. going onward into the day. So I would wake up at 4 a.m. and then I would have my baby shift, and then I would just roll into work and then go through work the whole day. And I would have shifts during the day to take off of work to take care of the baby. And then after that, I would have shifts like at nighttime bath. I would do
sounds like a lot less sleep and a lot more.
Dude, we weren't sleeping at all. I would get probably an average of 4 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, 4 hours of sleep a night.
You're really trying to sleep.
Exactly. I'm not trying to have sex. I'm trying to go to sleep. So you don't got time for that anyway. Now, everybody's relationship is unique to themselves. I know some of y'all out there, y'all are sex fiends, y'all sex addicts, so you might have to get it in. Me, I might have used to been a sex addict. I'm not anymore. I like sleep, so I'm gonna go to sleep.
No, I get it, but I think sometimes what happens is there's a resentment that builds with the guy because one, they're not communicating and they don't really get it, and so there's an expectation of, well, I mean, it's been 6 weeks, it's been 2 months. The baby is on a schedule now. Not like the baby's 3 months in on a schedule now, self-soothing. We should be getting it in, and there's still this whole transformation on a woman's end and things that they think about. Not even thinking about postpartum depression and all that kind of stuff, but just them how they feel about their body, them trying to get back to their work if they do work, that schedule, the feelings, what's it called, attachment issues when it's not an issue, but the attachment when you have to leave your baby now when you're used to being with them. All those things are not things that we as men necessarily inherently think about, that women more often than not are navigating in that first year of, after the baby's been born.
Exactly. There's so much intricacy to that. And also, just a little side note over here. My apologies if you guys hear me coughing on the podcast. This is dealing with kids, man. Dealing with kids. My baby gave me the flu like 2 weeks ago. I was completely floored me. And then I still have this flu cough. So that's where that's coming from.
It's all good. But, if I thought it was COVID, I wouldn't be here.
But I mean, to be honest, right? You hit the nail on the head. There's so many variables to that. And then you're tired. The mom is tired. Your interaction is tired just in general. You guys are just trying to keep your head above water, man. So please just, keep that in mind, especially if you're an active dad and you're really doing your thing and taking care of the baby and all of that. You probably don't even have time or energy to think about sex like that either, to be honest. So, yeah, I think everybody should give each other grace. Actually, yes, this is the thing. As couples with young kids, the most important thing I can tell you is give each other grace in everything, right? Because it might not be their intention or however you think that they're pissing you off or whatever. Do not attribute to malice that which can be explained by either negligence, incompetence, just being tired or whatever. It's not malicious. It's just the factor of the situation. So, yeah, that's my little piece of advice, man.
Hey, man, I get it. Totally understand. First, I want to thank you for your time today and sharing your experiences. Second, I want to reiterate something you said about giving your partner grace. I just want to take a moment to recognize all of the people that listen and support the podcast and the grace you've given me, because I've had life changes and things going on and not been able to put as much content as I would like to. And so the grace that you guys are giving me to return back to listening, sharing it, spreading the word, we back. So make sure you tell your friends about it. I appreciate the grace you've extended me and all the people that have kept asking, when is the next episode, next season coming out? We're back. We just started. Great conversations and dialogue and hopefully insight coming. So make sure you share with a friend. Follow us on Instagram at ThinkLoveWife. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Leave a review if you get a chance. I can't wait to the next interview and continue this conversation with Nkem. We're going to talk about a few good things, from when it makes sense to move in with someone to why I hate the term dating. Into the importance of having tough conversations with your partner. So make sure you tune in for the next episode. It's going to be a good one. And until next time, you know what it is. I hope the conversation keeps going.